Hey, this is Brandon. I've been going through my computer, cleaning up files and, doing some organizing, and I found this file that Jeff and I recorded way back in 2020, about a week before the pandemic began and things shut down and things started getting crazy. And I realized that we never edited it, we never published it. It's just been sitting there. So I polished it up. I put it into this program I have called Descript, and it adds automatic captions, and the captions aren't great. So I'm going to leave them though. I don't want to go through and do all of the little grammatical corrections, so it is what it is. You can close your eyes if it bothers you. But here it is. It's an episode where I was trying to make Jeff like a program called BH90210, which was kind of a reboot of Beverley Hills 90210, but more meta than that. They were playing fictionalized versions of themselves, talking about getting back together to do a reboot. So it was like a meta reboot about a reboot. I don't know. The show was canceled probably shortly after we recorded this, so it doesn't matter in the long run, but it was a good conversation, and wanted to post it here for you, so enjoy.
This mic right here, I don't like the way it makes my hand smell after I touch it. It's kind of like when you like hold coins, like pennies and stuff like that, then your hand has the metallic smell. That's what it feels like. That's what it smells like after I touch this damn thing. Condenser.
I'm keeping that.
As I've played hide and seek with my kids, like, you close your eyes in the hopes that it somehow makes you less visible.
Especially the younger you are, the more
Yeah.
Griffin does that.
Yeah.
He's 3, so yeah. Oliver don't care though. Oliver don't play hide and seek.
No.
He
seems to me like a gentle giant.
Yeah.
But one that doesn't give a shit.
He does not.
Like he's not like aggressive, and he's not ill-hearted, but he is just like largely okay with just being himself.
Yeah, older brother will take stuff from him and he doesn't even shoulder shrug. He just, okay, and walks away. Or older brother will take it from him and he'll wait till older brother sets it down and he'll grab it right back up.
That's cool. That seems to be the case with a lot of like second-borns. First-borns are more, I think, needy because they start out as the sole kid in the house and get all of the attention. And of course, you're, as a new parent, going to be attentive to all of their needs because it's new and you're trying to navigate the new responsibilities as a parent. And then the second one, you're like, I've done this. And then that might make the second kid less needing of that attention, and therefore informs their personality in a way that it just seems like the second, like all of my nieces and nephews and stuff like that, the second born is usually like the most chill.
Yeah, I think that there's, it's the nature-nurture debate, right? There's definitely influence with it, where your pecking order is as a sibling.
True.
There's also a case to be made, like, that kid is who they are when they come out, and it starts revealing itself, like their true nature, pretty early on, and only kind of grows and evolves and gets louder over the course of time. And to me, that's the thing I enjoy about being a parent the most, is when I can just sit back, be at peace with things are the way that they are, and zero in on just appreciating my kids.
And you can always eat their snack packs.
Always eat their snack packs. And use their wipes. They use a lot. They use a lot better wipes.
That is a visual that I didn't.
Baby wipes are the best wipes, the non-flushable kind.
All right. Hey, thanks for listening to Make Me Like This. I'm Brandon. I'm here with Jeff. The whole thing about this podcast is that one of us tries to make the other like something. And today I'm going to make Jeff like something that I'm not even sure that I like, but I like the idea of it enough to talk about it. So How old were you in 1990?
5 years old.
You were 5 years old. You probably had no real
What part of 1990?
And probably later, late 1990.
Okay, yeah. I was a full 5.
Fall of 1990, yeah. Beverly Hills 90210 came out in 1990. I think it lasted about 9 or 10 years. So you probably had some awareness of it as you probably got to be in your early teens or something like that. It was probably a thing that you were aware of, but probably not too familiar with. Yeah. I watched the first season pretty religiously because it was
on Sundays.
Was it? I don't know. Oh, got it. Dad jokes. So 1990, I was 13. And this show came out that was really, it's a show about high school kids, but they talk about sex. They talk about drug use. Like, compared to the other stuff out at the time, the TGIF stuff, very different.
Saved by the Bell after dark.
Saved by the Bell with basically grown-ups playing teenagers, so they got into some dirty stuff. But it was like new.
Because teenagers themselves don't get into dirty stuff. It's
not on
only
TV.
When adults are playing teenagers.
Not in the Tanner household in San Francisco, Friday nights. That's a Full House reference. They
should have sold that house and just lived off
bank.
It's a Painted Lady house.
Painted Lady house, yeah. I think, what did it sell for, $6 million just recently?
I would sell.
Yeah.
And then if I was Danny Tanner, I would just get a condo.
Yeah.
Those kids are old. Let them go do their own thing.
Let's be honest, the youngest is a billionaire.
And then every once in a while, I'd sit them down on the couch and talk about how I met their mother.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, you know what I was thinking about last night? I was trying to fall asleep because there's a lot of commercials for that Stumptown starring Robin Scherbatsky, Colby Smulders. There's a new show with Robin Scherbatsky on it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of commercials for it. And as I was trying to fall asleep last night, I was like, Ted Mosby's never going to work again. That show's been off the air for how many years now? Nobody's ever seen him.
Does he have to, though?
I think financially, he probably doesn't have to, but I would guess in his late 30s, early 40s, if he's going to live for a while, he can't just sit around and...
It'd be interesting. Did you look up his...
No,
IMDb?
I didn't. No, I didn't.
IMDb, yeah.
IMDb, yeah.
IMDb.
I am a DB.
Yep.
I wonder if they've ever thought of that.
They probably
in the IMDb offices. Oh, that'd be a deterrent. This Beverly Hills 90210 is not what I'm trying to make you like.
Okay.
But so the show itself was a little controversial at the time because it delved into real topics and there was teenagers talking about real things that real teenagers probably talk about and do. So fast forward almost 30 years later, there's a new show out. And Carol and I were flipping channels one night. I guess you don't really flip channels on YouTube TV, but you pull up the guide and you scroll through it. But there's a show on there called BH90210. BH90210 is the title of the show. So we clicked on it and start watching it. What it is, it's a reboot of Beverly Hills 90210 with all of the original cast minus Luke Perry, rest in peace. But it's a show where they play themselves, trying to reboot Beverly Hills 90210. Ooh. So it's very meta. So we've got this show that existed in the 90s. We've got all of these cast almost 30 years later, and they're in their 50s. Some of them maybe in their 60s. Oh my gosh, are they in their 60s? They might be, I don't know. But it's a show about them as themselves trying to get together a reboot of the show. So it's told through the lens of two of the main characters, one Jeannie Garth, one Tori Spelling, and they're like reaching out to the other cast members to try to get them to do this reboot. And one by one, they get them to do it. And Shannon Doherty is like off doing her own thing. And like in real life, she has a reputation for kind of being difficult or whatever. So they're like trying to get her into the fold to do this show. So it's a very interesting take on the reboot. You look at Cobra Kai, right? Cobra Kai is an extension of the movies, right? Same universe. It's the same. It's capitalizing on the same things that you liked about the Karate Kid movies, and now it's in a serial format, right? An episodic format. And same thing with Fuller House. I think they brought Gilmore Girls back. So there's reboots, Will and Grace, in that you're bringing back the cast and you're continuing the story. This, however, it's almost like a reality show, but like a super produced one, of the original cast of 90210 trying to put together a reboot of 90210.
I think that makes me like it right off the
Right,
bat.
yeah, like conceptually, that's better than where they could have gone with, oh, I'm this same character, but I'm now a parent of teenagers or whatever it is. That got me interested enough to watch a couple of episodes, you know? And even though I wasn't like super into 90210 after that initial release of it, of course I know who all these characters are and these people. I was very interested in how they developed the narrative of a people playing caricatures of themselves playing characters that they used to play in the 90s.
That's really cool. So how much... You've obviously probably seen more of 90210 than I have, just because you could have casually seen it on TV.
Yes.
In the night.
I would say
90s.
I deliberately watched it the first year that it came out, just to see what the hype was and stuff like that.
So you got established with what
I got established, and as it went on, they graduated from high school, they went to college, and then they started careers and stuff like that. And that also aligned with when I went to college and didn't have time to. This was also before DVRs, so I wasn't going to pop a tape in the VCR and record 90210 all the time. So I lost touch with it, certainly, after that first season or two. But yeah, man, just the whole concept of this made me interested, regardless of how connected I was to the original. It was just such a kind of a novel approach to it that got me interested. So what is a show that you grew up with that you would be really connected with?
That's of a similar...
Just
how old were you during that?
So I was like 13.
You were like 13.
So think about like middle school, early high school. What shows were you into?
I was in Smallville for a little bit.
Did you see the news yesterday?
What's the news on that?
Okay, obviously you didn't. So my former classmate, Tom Welling, is going to reprise his Smallville role on the the CW's Arrowverse crossover this year.
Ooh.
So every year the shows that are The Flash, The Arrow, Supergirl, they do this crossover event every year where those three shows overlap. And the story arc starts on one of the shows, continues on the other one, that's the next night, and then finishes up on the third show. I don't know which order that's cool that they do it, but they do this every year, and it's like this like big event because it's the combining of these superheroes. So this year, this event is going to bring back Tom Welling to play a Superman character. I guess he never played Superman. He was only Clark Kent in that series. They were very deliberate about never showing him in the Superman costume. Mm-hmm. That would be the end. The whole show was, this is about Clark Kent
becoming Superman.
Yeah, becoming Superman, and ending with him being Superman. And then they're also bringing back Brandon Routh, who was Superman in the 2002 Superman Returns movie.
Oh, okay.
So they've got that Superman. They've got Tom Welling, Superman-ish. And they've got a guy who has been playing Superman on Supergirl. So they got three different eras of Superman going to play Superman. So what my guess is that it's sort of multiverse kind of thing, where all of these different Supermen, like Spider-Verse, right? You got all of these Spider-Mans from different dimensions.
I started watching that and I haven't gotten very far with it, but I'm excited to.
You should give it some time because it is masterfully done, and just like from an art perspective, it's really cool.
We wanted to see how intense it would be for Griffin, and I watched like the first 15 minutes, and I was like, I think the story itself is still open to see if it gets too violent, but just it's very intense.
It's very intense, yeah.
From a artistic standpoint, so it's probably just going to be one that I watch myself.
Yeah,
for right now.
I think you'll enjoy it because I really liked that movie. But yeah, so Welling is coming back to reprise his role as Clark Kent / Superman.
That's cool.
I don't know that I've ever discussed this on this podcast, but I went to high school with... Did I ever say that?
You've talked to me about it.
I've talked to you about it.
I don't think you've done it.
We don't need to go into that. But I do have a good story of going to a party with him and sitting and watching my life while everyone else was like partying and stuff like that. I guess that's the story. I just told the story. Anyway, so you watched a lot of Smallville growing up.
I watched like the first 3 seasons or
Okay.
whatever. I think it's a similar thing with you.
You watched
is
more of it than I watched of Beverly Hills 90210, probably.
Yeah, I watched it until I got into high school in a place where I outgrew it a little bit.
Sure. Okay, but you have some sort of base experience with it, consuming it. And if they were to announce tomorrow and say, hey, we're going to do a show called, and it's about the characters of Smallville.
Especially given who's on that cast, it would be very interesting right now.
Are you talking about Allison Mack, who got arrested for
in the cult,
like a sex slavery ring?
Yeah.
Kind of? Okay, we won't call it SMville. maybe that's the storyline, right? So let's say there's a show.
S&Mville.
No. We'll call her Clark Kent Town. And it's
that's way more creative.
But it's a show about the actors themselves playing themselves, about saying, like, I don't know, do I want to do this? And then eventually into the production of rebooting that show and revisiting these characters. You'd be kind of interested in that.
I'd be interested in it. I wonder if I'd even just be interested in 90210, the BH90210.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it relied heavily on knowing who those characters were, or would it be more on the side of appreciating like behind the scenes production,
More of that.
making the band?
Definitely.
I don't know why I pulled that reference. It's more like behind the music, right?
Yeah. So it's
Shout out to Diddy.
It is leaning way
He's
more.
from my hometown.
Diddy's from your hometown?
No, I'm just trying to be important like you are.
You kidding me? There ain't nobody famous from Pinckney.
That's why I gotta lie about.
That's right. You might be the most famous from that town.
I might be.
Yeah. By the time this is over, you might be. For
Yeah.
sure. So.
No, Eric Reichenbach is the most famous person
Who is
from
that?
Pinckney. He was on Survivor.
Oh, yeah. I think you told me about that.
Yeah, he is far and away more famous than I will ever be.
He's a
that's
character on that Survivor show.
He climbs trees really well.
I want to climb trees. So they lean heavily into the public persona of each person rather than the character that they played. That's the whole show is ancillary to this whole story. In what I've seen so far, they haven't even gotten into making the show. This is all like I don't know if I want to do this. I left that whole thing behind me. But there was like a circumstance that all of them need to do this show because they either are at a place in their career where there's no going up, they're in financial ruin, all kinds of things, like going through divorce, whatever. So it's been nothing about the actual show. So I have a familiarity with I think they do a couple of like little flashback thingies, like how Fuller House did, where it's like they have archive footage, so they're able to intermittently because it's there.
Do it better than how they did it on Fuller House.
It was really disjointed.
It was just jankety.
Yeah,
all sorts.
It's abrupt, and it's like it's simply for the sake of, we have this footage of you younger, we're going to use it, even though it almost doesn't apply in
what you're talking about feels like a start of a sequel, like a movie sequel, that they didn't necessarily expect to make, and so they have to start it with calling people out of retirement. You know what? It's like the start of D2 The Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
Where like Gordon Bombay's this washed up minor league hockey player.
Yeah.
And, like,
which is what he was in the first one.
Like, you gotta coach Team USA. And he's like, coaching. I don't know that I can do the coaching thing again. I was in the minors.
Yeah.
And then he's like, can I have my entire team that I had in Minneapolis?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. All the kids you coached in Pee Wee in Minneapolis are national level talent. And so we're going to put them on that team.
Yeah. The team he scrapped together from nothing. Yeah. Well, that actually reminds me, earlier this week, there was a story that came out that they are rebooting Saved by the Bell, continuing Saved by the Bell. And I was really into Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
I didn't even make this connection when we started this conversation.
Zach Morris would be like the governor of California.
He's the governor of California, but Mark Paul Gosselaar is not in this show. He's on Mixed-ish. He's not even associated with this show. But the description I read is Zach Morris, the governor of California, sends his kid to his kid got kicked out of a private school or something like that. So they have to send him to Bayside High, which somehow Jesse and Slater are married and working there or something like that. So it's like the actual content of the show, it's going to be Mario Lopez and Elizabeth Berkley and God knows who else.
That's a decent battery to start with for the reboot, though.
Yeah. But no Zach Morris? Hard to fathom.
He exists.
He exists in the universe. He's in the description.
And I think that, like, when they do continuation style sequel, or because a reboot is a type of continuation, right?
It's a type
of sequel.
There's reboot where they redo everything, right?
That's what I'm thinking. So if we're thinking about reboot as the general topic, what kind of types do we have? The formulas. This one feels very new.
This one is like a continuation, right? Because it's same characters and stuff. Like Cobra Kai, continuation. Same characters playing their own roles. They are older, but a reboot is like
it never happened. Like the Ghostbusters reboot.
Like Ghostbusters reboot, or like the Karate Kid reboot with Jaden Smith.
That was a good one.
Right?
I like that one.
I will strike that from the record because I do not agree.
That's a future episode.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. Make me like Jaden Smith. We'll be here for 8 hours.
I like Jackie Chan.
I do too.
I like. So
I don't like him so much that it makes me forget about Jaden Smith, though.
Oh, I thought you were going to say forget that there was an original Karate Kid movie, in which I would have had a harder, man, you're old and lame.
I am old, but it's so there's a reboot where they can completely just redo and don't connect it all to it's just a remaking of the original.
Then there's prequels.
There's prequels, right?
And I think that's what excites me about this thing with 90210 the most is that it's just a different way to approach that. And think that in general, like, I think prequels they're less common, and prequels in general, if I think about it, tend to be more easily receptive to me because I feel like it's not rebooting, it's not making you watch a movie or a TV series and consider your mind completely wiped of the previous thing.
Yeah.
It's also not a continuation, which just it's probably the most pure way of doing it, but it's the one that has the most risk of continuity error.
Yeah.
Especially the longer time period that it removed from the original. And so this one, I really like it because I think in order to have a high success rate, on average, I think if you do the continuation right, it works great.
Yeah. There's nostalgia baked in, but reaching a new, younger audience, it honors the original, right? And makes people like, oh, I like this. I want to go back and see the original in a way.
Yeah. But degree of difficulty is high.
Oh, yeah, because there's a lot of people you could piss off and can completely spoil the original or taint it in a way. But this is interesting you say that about prequels because there's two, and we already just mentioned one, Mixed-ish. Are you familiar with Mixed-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't watch Blackish, but the mom from Black, Mixed-ish, is about her upbringing and how she came to be who she is.
It hasn't had the first episode yet, has it?
It's next week, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely watching that.
And then you think about Young Sheldon, right? Is a prequel to Big Bang Theory, but shot in a completely different way. Big Bang Theory is like studio 3 camera setup with a laugh track, and Young Sheldon is shot like single camera.
Yeah.
Just a different feel, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
But I haven't seen it either, and it's hard because especially something like Big Bang Theory is so big in itself.
Yeah.
It's tainted from the get-go to look objectively at it. Mixed-ish, I'm interested in. I do Blackish.
Yeah.
I think there's another continuation that's the spin-off that we haven't really talked about.
Is it Grownish?
Yeah, Grownish is the spin-off of that, but
you're
category,
taking the concept
right?
of a spin-off,
Wasn't
right?
like a different world, a spin-off of the Cosby Show?
Yep.
And so I think I actually like spin-offs a little bit because it's you might even is that new Saved by the Bell a continuation, or is it more of a spin-off? It's like kind of a hybrid in there because you're taking two characters that I would say are part of the ensemble, Saved by the Bell, but they're not the main characters. Really prominent, important characters, and that's why it works well.
Yeah, that's a good point, because if just using Saved by the Bell as an example, they graduated and they go to college. It's Saved by the Bell, the college years. Is that a continuation? It's a spin-off, right?
Yeah.
Because they, at first, had the 3 boys and then had 3 new girls. Then they brought Kelly Kapowski back, stuff like that. But it was a primetime show rather than a Saturday morning show. It was a spin-off. And then this right here... Oh, and then Saved by the Bell, the new class, is a spin-off, even though Mr. Belding's there. And I think Screech was also... He was like a student teacher or something like that. That was a spin-off, not a continuation, even though there was a thread of commonality in characters and people that are in it. But I guess you're right. It's all over the place, right? It's just whatever the market decides is worthy of coming back, it defies genre.
In the 90s where there was less content and Saved by the Bell was a gold mine.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those decisions were like, okay, like what other things can we milk out of this cash cow?
Yeah.
But I think that in general, I've appreciated a lot of spin-offs. I appreciate A Different World. I actually think I've watched more A Different World than I have The Cosby Show.
Yeah.
I like Grownish. Sorry, get in that whole stable of things. I like Grownish more than I like Blackish.
Yeah.
And I like both, but I tend to appreciate young adult, like especially college year.
There are not a lot
settings.
of shows that kind of focus on college, which is a formative time period for so many people. There is so much. I love a good college show. There was a show called Greek. I'm not into fraternities, sororities, stuff like that, but my buddy's wife was like, you should watch Greek. It's a good show. And I got hooked on it because it's like storytelling about that pivotal time in a young adult's life where you're off on your own. You're trying to decide who you are as a person. As much as I liked Freaks and Geeks, I liked, oh my God, I'm blanking on the name of it. Seth Rogen and Jay Baruchel. Oh my God. What is the name of it? The Judd Apatow show.
Look it up real quick.
Followed. I'm going to have to.
We can say it live.
That's true.
We can sound way smarter than we actually are. Or you can just keep this long interlude in here. Undeclared.
I really like. Did you watch Undeclared?
Yes. I watched the whole thing.
I loved Undeclared.
I liked Undeclared a lot. Especially I watched it right on the heels of Freaks and Geeks.
Oh, did you? Okay.
So it felt like, even though it wasn't a continuation.
It's continuation in spirit, right?
I like
a lot of the same characters.
That setting and I don't know, I just love that period of everyone's life.
Yeah.
Even if the show and if the story and the characters are just playing around with the topics in that, and especially over different times, because Undeclared is what, like early 2000s, maybe?
I would say probably early to mid 2000s.
And so Undeclared, if we're talking like mid 2000, that's the period of time I went to college. Right. So when I watch Undeclared, it feels very familiar.
Yeah.
Like from all the backdrop of everything. Grownish is really fun for me because it's like familiar, but then social media and just interconnectedness, digital connectedness plays such a prominent role in it.
Oh.
And it explores topics that are familiar to me existing in this time period, are familiar to me because of being a college student at some point in time.
Yeah.
But then are enough newness because it's out of place, out of time for who I was as a college student.
Sure.
So that's what really checks the boxes for that show.
Nice. Yeah. And like in the same spirit of like whether or not it's a really great show or not, but a reflection of a time period or something like that. I don't think that BH90210 is the greatest thing ever. I think the acting is probably a little bit hokey and stuff, but the concept alone got me hooked.
Yeah.
And I can't remember anything like it. So it's just putting a spin on something that you're super familiar with and telling a story in a different way, which I really like.
Yeah.
So I guess the closest thing I can think of is when Curb Your Enthusiasm had a season that was dedicated to a Seinfeld reunion show. So they're talking to all of the Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Jason Alexander and Seinfeld just as actors. And then Larry's interacting with them and trying to put this all... This is probably all over your head.
I gotta watch Curb because it seems to be like a very canonical TV show for you.
Oh, yeah. I think you would like it, especially knowing that it's all improv. You would appreciate that.
Yeah.
You would appreciate that. Speaking of which, speaking of HBO, did I tell you that I found a gift card for HBO on my desk and nobody will admit to who got it for me? So, other day I was having a conversation.
HBO Go? Or?
Yeah, we were having a conversation over here the other day and saying like, oh yeah, I really want to watch that show. I don't have HBO anymore. And then the next day, there was a gift card on my desk. Hey, enjoy HBO. The writing was masked and stuff. And I asked every single person who it could be, and all of them have denied it being them. So I've got this, I feel bad about that. I feel guilty.
You feel guilty?
Yeah.
I think that is such a sweet thing for people to do for you.
It's incredibly kind.
Yeah.
And I'm so appreciative of it, but I want to be reciprocal. I want to, and at the very least, thank the person.
You want to buy them an HBO gift?
If it comes down to it or whatever, but...
Are you feeling bummy? Are you feeling like
Like a mooch?
Yeah, like you're taking handouts?
No, because I know that it was out of kindness, and I want to be able to thank someone.
That's the kind of act of kindness that I appreciate most.
Yeah.
Seriously, that aligns so much. I would be so appreciative. And I would be equally appreciative that no one felt like they needed to take ownership of being the gift giver. Like, that is such a great setup.
Yes, but it drives me crazy. I'm mad appreciative of it. I'm very honored and touched by that. At the same time, I want the curiosity of who is it? I just want to thank them.
Yeah,
but
I get it.
Anyway,
I get it.
So since this was a gift, I know I should share. I should. What is it called? Pass it forward. Pay it. I did never watch that movie because I can't stand Helen Hunt.
In this case, it would be re-gifting if you're gonna.
Well, I'm going to use it, but I might share my password with you so that you may watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, because I think that it touches on a lot of things that you would appreciate.
Real quick question.
Yeah.
Okay. Mount Rushmore of cinematic or TV, I don't want to say influences, but just not just your top 4.
Yeah.
But things that you draw back on, inform what you're receptive to in the future is engaging with content and stuff like that. What would be the 4 things? I
can tell you exactly, because I have those 4 vinyl pop figures in my office at home. Vinyl pop figures are the little, the giant head and the
So you have the
Mount
Rushmore at home.
I kind of do. I'll tell you what that is. And I have these figures. I should send you a picture. It's a Ghostbuster. In this case, it's Ray, but that's the one I got. Any Ghostbuster, really. Back to the Future. I've got Marty McFly. Zach Morris, a giant cell phone. Tommy Boy, Chris Farley's character from Tommy Boy.
Oh, yeah.
And Spider-Man. Those are all on my desk right there.
Yeah.
So that I think that is very much aligned to. They don't make a pop figure for Fred Savage's character in The Wonder Years. I would put that in there as well. No one's going to make that. But yeah, that's a pretty good representation of just my influences. I would say Michael J. Fox in both Back to the Future and Family Ties. He was a diminutive actor with a lot of character. And as a smaller kid growing up, that was just the North Star of this is how you overcome your stature.
And the first 2 that you named were action comedy, adventure comedy.
Adventure comedy
in a lot of ways.
Big time. Yeah. It's a good question. That's a good question. Do you have one that you can draw from really quick?
I don't really have one of those. I don't think that film.
You're more
TV,
of a sponge.
Yeah.
You just absorb all things and you take a nuance from everything and you can draw from that library. Yeah. Whether it's How I Met Your Mother, whether it's Golden Girls, I don't know. Just there isn't any standout thing for you.
No, there's a handful of things. You're right. I treat it all as one language.
Yeah.
And I like being able to pull influences, especially from things, not things as a whole.
Yeah.
But like Billy Madison is a important movie to me, and then or maybe just a memorable one that I pull quotes from all the time.
Yeah.
And then the How I Met Your Mother's, Friends, those ensemble sitcoms tend to be stuff that I like to absorb. So yeah, I like ensemble casts that you get to learn and grow with the characters over time, and in most cases, because they're so popular, they get stale and maybe reinvent themselves.
Yeah,
but yeah,
definitely. I wonder if it's a function of me being a little bit older and growing up in a time where there was less choice, there was less content out there, and there was like a handful of things, and you either like this thing or you like this thing, and now
cartoons are influential for me. Maybe like you talk about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'm like really into He-Man and really into Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
So like when you talk about your 80s influences, they're a little older than what my 80s influences are. But that has carried with me to where I really appreciate animated whatever, whether it's Incredibles or Toy Story or really I could just say Pixar in general.
Definitely.
That's a continuation.
Finish Spider-Verse because I think you will love it. For a lot of reasons.
Because it feels more comic-y, right?
Very much, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's very cool. So, okay, man, I was just talking about the general concept of this BH90210 not really being a spin-off or a reboot, but it's like a show about a reboot. I don't even know how to classify that, but I just thought it was a really cool concept that got me thinking about a lot of different aspects of the television we consume, and I appreciate the journey we took along this way and just like delving into the different dissection of the different things that we like and have engaged with over the course of our lives. So I'm thankful for that conversation. I think it was really good for me to help contextualize what sparked this conversation in the BH90210. Thinking about our discussion here, what do you think? Do you like the idea of this show, BH90210, enough to say yes? I do.
The art of a good sequel, or I guess continuation or reboot, I think I appreciate deeply. I think it's difficult.
Yeah.
And I think one of the major things in order to pull it off is being creative about the concept of how you're going to enter into it.
That's true.
And I've never heard of this. So I'm really into concepts.
Yeah.
Like being creative about how you set the vantage going into something.
Definitely.
Like that.
That's why I thought this was a good conversation, because even though I knew that this was a little bit before your time, the idea of this plot device might be intriguing to you.
Yeah, so I'll definitely check it out. What channel is it on?
Fox.
It's just on standard Fox?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'll add it to the DVR and I'll watch a couple things. That I'm curious to see about like how much. I'm not going to watch the original 90210, and I'm just going to dive into that and let you know what I think. But definitely, knowing what you laid out there, you put a compelling argument out there probably within the first 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That the concept was original and cool, and I'm down to watch BH90210.
I get no money or satisfaction from
YouTube TV on the Fox Broadcast Network.
And I'm going to drink a Heineken while I'm doing it and smoke a pack of Marlboros. We're not getting money from any of these things.
And I'm going to jam a Kit Kat bar into it.
Oh, man.
When I need a break.
When you say jam a Kit Kat bar, I've never wanted a Kit Kat bar less. When you say jam a Kit Kat up there.
I mean, it's no Twix. I mean, if you can have a Twix.
Twix is superior in every way.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Anyway,
say jam a Twix down your throat.
I think I'll go get a Snickers, because I'm not me when I'm hungry.
That's accurate.